Okay, see you later. Bye.
Yeah, bye. Quick. Right, I've got a job to do today and I'm slightly up against it time-wise because if I told my wife I was taking this window out, she wouldn't be happy. She's got to work. And she's right, we do have other priorities like this utility room. So today's video is intended to be filmed in real time. And what I'm putting in there is a window I've had for ages now. God, the weather today is absolutely terrible. So basically, it's one of the windows in this pile which have all had to be repainted because the guy who made them painted them on colour. Painting this green should have been grey. Anyway, the window we are installing is this one here and this bit here. So let's crack on. And why am I ripping it out? Well, heat loss and condensation. Very hard to stop condensation on a single glazed unit. It'd be nice to go at this with a grinder because I think I'm going to have to lose this front bead, but that'll create so much dust and mess. So I think I'm going to have to go at this with a hammer and chisel. And when hand chiseling didn't really work, I reached for my SDS. I said this on the chimney demolition, if you might have watched that. I started tickling around with this and it's a really good quality SDS drill. But it was like, as I just said, tickling around the surface. You get one of these bad boys involved and the whole lot just comes straight off. So if you're planning a job like this, get yourself a 240 volt. I've done videos in the past. Titan do a really good value for money, massive SDS. This sort of thing, what you need. Next up, time to remove the sill. And as I put this sill in quite early in my DIY journey, I knew it would come out quite easily. Hoping I can bosh through this now with my reciprocating saw. Great thing with reciprocating saws, you don't need them all the time, but they're really useful for jobs like this. Past the point of no return. You might think a bit brutal to use the Gorilla Bar, but this window's just going to the tip and the screws are probably painted in anyway. Great things, Gorilla Bars. If you haven't got one, get it. You do need this in your DIY armoury. This is a bit more problematic than I was hoping because we've got these bits, what are these haunches, whatever they're called. I think you mean ears, Charlie, which is how they used to traditionally tie window frames into the brickwork. So I think I'm going to have to cut it off. Hope I don't hit any nails. Okay, let's do it. And with the help of the SDS, I was back to creating more damage, more dust, but ultimately a nice clear sill. Yep, that had to come out because that was only the sill joiner. So the actual frame goes right down to there. Well, those ears were still proving problematic, so it was back to the saw. The credit of the guys that installed these windows, they've been here about 70 years, which is damn sight longer than mine will. Look at that at the top. If in doubt, bury it in the wall, I say. Nobody's ever going to take that out for a burglary or something. We're getting there. You were, Charlie, but time was marching on. It was now 12:32 PM. Right, next job, with my trusty leaf blower, I'm going to just clean this whole area up. The moment of truth, just needed a fraction more out here. And that was about as snug a fit as I've ever had. Okay, it fits. But with that lip of Tyrolean, the sill doesn't project out enough past the wall. And this Tyrolean reveal is why I was removing the window from the inside. And removing those ears that were built into the brickwork has caused quite a lot of damage to the reveal. I had no option but to grind off some of that Tyrolean reveal, which created a lot more dust. But it did the job, and now the sill projects out nicely. Right, safe to say we're in a bit of a mess, as you can tell. Don't know how long I've got before DIY returns, but what I'm doing now is priming the window surround with a bit of SBR, watered down SBR, 1 part SBR to 3 parts water. Get out, I might leaf blade you. Just to totally clean the surface before I get the window in. What time is it? It's 1:10. Gonna go and get my leaf blower on my top and go and have some lunch. But we've got the SBR on, so by the time I come back that'll be dry and we can get the window in. Look at that! The window is in and looking good, and a little bit of packing and I had it completely plumb. But what I am going to do now is lock it in around the sides. That way I can get my frame fixings in once it's completely set. And tonight we'll have a nice warm wind and watertight room. First things first, moisten the surfaces. Sudal SWS window and door frame, very important. Very important because it's breathable, but it's waterproof. Got a very high open cell structure, about 5% I think, which is why it's breathable, but it's specially designed for windows and door frames because it's also flexible. I have to say, foam work has to be one of my most satisfying jobs in DIY. I'll post a few links to the videos where it's featured in the description below. It's now 3:15 p.m. I had a call to make at 3:30, but with the foam now in, it was just a case of waiting for it to set before installing the window itself. With the hinges back on, I was ready for the install in the nick of time. Just need your help because I've been installing a window today in the loo, so I just need your help to screw it in. And with me outside on the ladder holding the window and DIYte expertly wielding the impact driver, we managed to get the window in. A bit harder. That's it.
Was this on the to-do list? Yeah. I don't remember talking about the loo.
Predictably, she wasn't happy. Okay, so it's not finished. At 2 I'd call at 3. Otherwise it would have been in the light pretty much. But we've got a fully insulated, fully sealed window. So in terms of achieving what I set out to today, pretty much nailed it. But there was still so much to do. First up, I made up a sand and cement mix with waterproof admix to act as a plasticizer to fill the large gaps under the sill and above the window frame. I used my mortar gun and slightly struggled, mainly because I made the mix a bit too soft, which is always a fine line with a mortar gun because too firm and you can't extrude the sand and cement through the gun. I then made a couple of wood formers and taped them or jammed them in to the frame so I could build up the render that had been damaged when I wrenched those noses after the brickwork. I used an old toothbrush to create the dippled effect of the Tyrolean. And even with this pretty decent masking tape, the Zinza all coat is unfortunately slightly peeling off. We had so much rain last night, and I don't want to leave the little gaps either side of the window any longer because I was really worried about rain getting in there. I bought this for the gaps because they're too narrow for me to put cement in, sand and cement mix, mortar mix. But the trouble with this stuff is it's not paintable, and whilst that doesn't really matter, I do want to be able to paint up to the edge, and also I got it in white, which is pretty stupid. So I've got another plan. Delving into the recesses of my cellar, which also last night got a lot of rain in it. Move my beast, as I call it. Got to get yourself one of these if you haven't already got one. And it's on wheels, so it's really handy. Right, now somewhere in here, that's what I'm looking for, I think. Partially used Metaset, which is an epoxy resin. Key with this stuff is to extrude a nice long bead to get it going, and you sort of know when it is. See those two colours coming out there? It's a bit old, this tin, so. And you just got to hope it's mixing nicely. This is the gap I need to fill. Sorry, terrible filming. But with the bead piped into the gap. Now, what I'm doing now is I'm just teasing it into the gap. And the protective masking tape peeled off. So that's turned out pretty well. And even though this stuff was a couple of years old in the tube, it's absolutely rock hard. And the best thing, it's over paintable. Some of you will be saying, shouldn't he be applying an additional bead of sealing silicone along the outside where the render and the woodwork meets? Well, I've stuck to this traditional approach throughout the rest of the house as well and haven't had any leaks, so as far as I'm concerned this is fine. I really wanted to show you this window completely finished and painted, but apart from the fact that it's rained almost continuously since I started doing this video, I think the air and the surface temperature, most importantly, of the brickwork is too low at the moment for my brilliant Emperor paint, which I will be using to paint this whole area. There's a link to the video I've done on the Emperor coming up on screen now. And I should point out to you that the reason I'm doing all this work and sorting out this window is because I've got a heat pump install coming up very soon on my channel, so stay tuned for that. So when the weather is allowed, I've been busy building paths, getting the foundations ready and the drain off for the condensate, all that sort of fun stuff. But there was still a lot to do, so if you have got a few moments, it'd be great if you could stay with me and I'll quickly zoom through everything else that I've done internally to get this finished. Next up, onto the interior reveals. Thought I'd use some of the insulated plasterboard left over from insulating the kitchen. Started with a handsaw, but you get much straighter cuts with a circular. I've got some reveal boards in place. But what I haven't done yet is worked out I've got to get this right at the front with the edge bead, so I'm going to cut some edge bead. Yeah, I need about 20mm off. All gaps insulated, there'll be no cold bridging on this job. And then it was just a case of using adhesive foam on the rear of the boards. Oops, let this go off a little long. There's a link to the SWIP kitchen insulation on screen now. And then I just braced the reveals with some MDF whilst the foam's set. And yes, I was a bit slack, should have removed the plasterboard like I did in the kitchen so the insulation was continuous. Right, most people staple these in position, but I'm going to do something a bit different. I'm going to glue it. I've forgotten to drill the frame fixings, so I'm going to do that now, and I'm just praying that I don't disrupt the rendering I've done outside. Stupid, I should have done it before doing any of that, but anyway. So 10mm drill bit, a bit of countersinking, then lightly tap the fixings in place. Drive home with a screw and finally screw tight, recessed ready for filling. I needn't have worried, the foam has set the frame so tight it didn't move 1mm. Right, to finish this off today, I'm going to be using this Easy Fill 60. I was at the Builders Merchants. I didn't really want to go down the multi-finish route. This stuff, I've used it for years. It's easy. It comes in a small bag. I can add stuff on extra afterwards if the finish isn't perfect. So the whole thing is going to make it much more simple than if I'd gone with a professional solution. It is twice the price of plaster though. And if I'm honest, a bit of a cop-out if the guys on my Discord forum can achieve finishes like this with proper plaster. I should also be rising to the challenge. So let's see how we get on. Got a little bit of water at the bottom. There's not a huge amount in there actually. Let's see how we get on. I suppose the problem for us DIYers with doing plastering is we're not doing it often enough to really hone the craft. But at least with Easy Fill, you can do a half decent job to start with, sand it down and then apply more Easy Fill to the low spots to end up with a professional finish. The reveals got the same treatment and actually were surprisingly easy to do. It just so happened I had an MDF window board offcut lying around, so I trimmed this to size. A little obvious tip here, route the curved edges before you cut the shoulders as it's so much easier. I don't know what I was thinking. And a bit of inevitable fine tuning with the electric plane and chisel and it was ready. Final piece in the jigsaw. Perfect. I just need to glue this down now with grit fill or something similar. So that's it for today. I hope you found this video useful. If you've got through to the end, thank you so much for watching. Just generally for this year, let me know in the comment section below what you like, but what you think could be better about the channel and anything that you would like to see more of this year, because I think that would be really useful. I have got so many projects in the pipeline. I mentioned the heat pump, that'll be coming up very soon. Keep your eye out on Sunday evenings for new videos, and generally there are some other really exciting projects in the pipeline. So all I can say today is thank you so much for continuing to watch my stuff. And if you're new to my channel, it would mean so much to me to have you subscribe. You can do that by clicking on the link here, and don't forget to click the bell notification icon so you get notified of all my future uploads. Thank you all so much, and I'll see you soon.